live is on, folks. If nobody told you, I just told you the live is on. As y'all are checking in, Periscope, y'all always seem to be the first to check in. Shout yourselves out. You shout yourself out in the comment section if you're on Periscope. Just tell me who you are, where you checking in from, your name and where you checking in from, first name, where you from. If you are on Facebook seems to be the slowest. Facebook seems to start the slowest with them loading it. But IG, y'all can tell me your name and where you from. Periscope, I keep getting these mixed up. Periscope, tell me where you are, where you from. We got Periscope right here. Facebook is right here. Instagram is right here. The live is on, everybody. In case y'all didn't know, if you can hear my voice, the live is on. Actually, if you can hear my voice, you might be watching this on replay. Shout out to YouTube. But wherever you watching this, whenever you watching this, what I'm about to share with you, this is evergreen material. All right, this will be relevant in 2030. This will be relevant in 2080. I'm gonna make my grandkids watch this. It's gonna be required enrichment. So as y'all checking in, shout yourselves out in the comment section. Tell me your name, where you checking in from. We're gonna get into it in 1 minute. Shout out to everybody who came in early. Shout out to everybody with the notifications. We got Sylvester checking in from Paris. Shout out to Paris. I've been to Paris, but I ain't spent a lot of time there. Mary Rose checking in from Boston. Shout out to Boston. I've been there. We got Maliko from Richmond, California. I've been to California, but not Richmond, so shout out to Richmond. We got Simon from Austria. Have I been to Austria? I have been to Austria, but I wasn't there for long. I was in Vienna. I don't know what part of Austria you in. But as y'all checking in, shout yourselves out in the comment section. My name is Dre Baldwin. I'm going to introduce myself formally in 10 seconds. I'm going to give people like 10 seconds to get in here. Turn your volume up. Right now it is an overcast day in Miami. We got a lot of rain the last couple of days, actually the last week and a half. Hopefully, I think we get into the end of it today and tomorrow. But anyway, my name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre out there. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete. Basketball was a sport. I played 9 years overseas, and what I did after that, I've written 27 books. That's more important, including this book right here called Work on Your Game, and this book called The Mirror of Motivation. I'm going to tell you how to get this book for free at the end of this presentation. So when I'm done talking today, I'm going to tell you how to get, actually before I'm done talking, I'm going to tell you how to get a free copy of this book, the physical book, live to your doorstep. This is called The Mirror of Motivation. This is another one of my 27. I've done 4 TED Talks. I created this whole philosophy, this brand. It's called Work on Your Game. It's all about taking the tools you need to be successful and get to the top 1% in sports and showing you how to apply those tools at work, how to apply those tools in life. And if you happen to be an athlete, you can apply them in sports as well. Of course, we got Brooklyn in the house. Shout out to Brooklyn. Now, today's topic is shooting and getting your shot. All right, shooting versus getting your shot. Now, this is a concept that comes from the basketball world, but we're going to talk about how this applies to all of life. And if you're an athlete, you can use this in your sport, of course, as well. The thing is this. When you play basketball, any of you ever played or you watch basketball, you can understand this concept. There's a lot of players out there who can shoot. You go to a gym somewhere, some empty gym, some local rec, you get on YouTube and you see people on there doing all kinds of moves. They dribbling around trash cans, playing one-on-one against their bum-ass friends, and they look like superstars. You might think this dude is Allen Iverson. You watch him on YouTube, or you think he's Steph Curry. You watch him making shots back to back on Instagram. Here's the thing. Shout out to Italy in the house. Here's the thing. Being able to shoot is one thing. Getting your shot is another thing. What I mean is, if you look at the game of basketball, there's a lot of people who can shoot, but then if you put some defense on them, you got somebody guarding them, can they still get that same shot? Can they even get the shot off, let alone can they make it? A lot of times when the defense shows up, it's a lot harder to make a shot than it is when you're shooting by yourself in an empty gym. Now, what does this have to do with life? In life, there are a whole lot of people who have skill. There's a lot of people who are good at acting. There's people who are good singers, people who are good writers, people who are good, I don't know, name a skill that people out here have. There's people who are good at all these different things: singing, acting, writing, rapping, dancing, teaching. There's a lot of things that people are great at, great inventors. The challenge is for a lot of people out here is not whether or not you have the skill to do something. The question is, can you put yourself in a position to where you can actually show the world that you can do it? Can you get yourself in a position to where you can actually get paid for what you do? Can you position yourself to the point that the world actually knows that you can do your thing? It's one thing to be able to do it. It's another thing when you can prove it. Around this time of year, every year, for the last 15 years, let me tell y'all what happens. I start getting all these messages from basketball players, even though I'm not even in the basketball world like that anymore. I don't post basketball content. I don't post drills or nothing like that anymore, and I don't play anymore. But I still get basketball players who reach out to me because I got all this material. I still got more basketball material on the internet than anybody alive. So players will come to me around this time of year because this is when they have basketball tryouts. This is when you have tryouts for college basketball, tryouts for high school basketball, and a lot of players, everybody doesn't make the team. We know this. Only 12 people can make a basketball team, generally speaking. So a lot of players try out, but they don't make it. And every year I get players reaching out to me saying things like, Dre, I didn't make the team even though I was the best player at tryouts, or I was the best shooter, or I was the best defender, or a bunch of people told me that I should have made the team, but I didn't make the team. I get this every single year around this time, October, November, every year, guaranteed. And this is the thing that I tell players. Now, I tell them, number one, if you were the best player at tryouts, you would have made the team. And number two, what you think you are, if you think you're the best player, doesn't matter because you're not the coach. You're not the decision maker. The decision that matters, the opinion that matters is not your opinion. If you're the person trying to get on, you're the person trying to get chose, your opinion doesn't matter as much as the opinion of the person who's doing the choosing, because they're the one who decides whether or not you're actually going to get chosen or not. And that's what we're talking about here today, shooting versus getting your shot. So just because you have skill, just because you're good and you work on your game. I even hear from parents. I get emails from parents all the time. They'll say things like, my child wants to make it high school, they want to make it in college, they want to make it pro. It's some level that they want to make it playing basketball. Usually it's basketball. And the parent will say something like, and this is especially with parents, a lot of times it's a mother who they don't really know basketball like that, and they don't really understand the nuances or the realities of the game. So they say things like, listen, my son works really hard. He really wants to make it. He practices all the time. He's always showing up early. He works on his game, so much to the point of exhaustion. He's really trying to make it, and he deserves an opportunity. He deserves to make it. What does he have to do to make it? So they're asking me to tell them what's the magic formula for their son making it in basketball. And I tell them the same thing that I'll tell y'all. Just because you work hard, just because you are driven, just because you're dedicated, just because you really want it, and all that, motivational mumbo jumbo that y'all get from whatever motivators out here y'all be following, influencers or whatever y'all follow online, that means absolutely nothing. Now, it means it matters. You do need to work hard, and you should be dedicated, and you should actually want it. You probably won't get it if you don't. But working hard doesn't separate you from everybody else, because everybody works hard. A lot of people want it. A lot of people want to achieve. A lot of people want to succeed. What's going to separate you? You can shoot, but can you get your shot? That's what we're talking about here today. This is a basketball saying, but this applies also to life. And when I get into these points, you'll understand what I mean. Number one, acquiring skill is the easy part, ladies and gentlemen. If you think you could be a great orator, being able to speak is the easy part. You think you could play basketball like Steph Curry, making an open three-pointer, that's the easy part. It's not easy, but it's the easiest part of this whole process. Acquiring skill is easy because a lot of people have skill. Anybody can acquire skill. There's no competition for skill acquirement or skill acquisition. Anybody can acquire a skill if you work on it enough and you get the right trainer and the right instruction and you show up and do the work, okay? The challenge is actually having some results to show for that skill. See, a lot of people believe they can play basketball. Not everybody plays. A lot of people think they're good enough to play overseas or D1 college or the NBA. Not everybody plays in the NBA. A lot of people think they got the knowledge to put a book out and sell it and get it into the hands of a bunch of readers, but not too many people actually do it. So having the ability or thinking you have the ability is cool. You should believe in yourself. That is an important step to achievement in life, but getting the actual result is what matters. You don't get paid for believing in yourself. I don't know anybody here. Does anybody here have a job where you just get paid for believing in yourself? Like you show up and you can somehow prove that you believe in yourself. They give you a check just for that. Hey, I believe in myself. Pay me. I never heard of that job. There's no job you get paid for believing in yourself. Now, if you don't believe in yourself, you probably won't do a good job. So does it matter? Yes. But is that the result? No. The result that we're after is producing the actual tangible result. And each game has its own result. If you're creating products and services, if you do things like write books, all right, now you got to get the book into somebody's hand and they got to pay for it. All right, that's the game. If you are a basketball player, now you got to score points, not in an empty gym by yourself. You got to score points when somebody's playing defense and there's a 5-on-5 game and your team got to win the game, and that's how they know that you're a good player. So all these things are part of the process of earning your way in. Like just having the skill alone doesn't mean anything. Skills matter, but the application of the skill is what produces a return on investment. Everybody hear what I just said? Having a skill is cool. If you can shoot threes, is all good. You can shoot a three in an empty gym. I think it was 2 weeks ago or last week, Obama, he was at some appearance and he shot the three-pointer and he made it. Everybody's like, yeah, Obama made the three. That's cool that he can make that three, but he ain't making that three with somebody playing defense. All right? There's a difference between making a three when nobody's playing defense and making a three when somebody's playing D. So, yes, you can make the three-pointer, but can you make it when somebody's trying to stop you? All right, producing the result and getting a tangible application of the skill is what gets you paid. All right, having the skill itself doesn't mean anything. Crystal for worship over there on Periscope, I appreciate you. Thank you. Point number 2. Topic here today is shooting versus getting your shot. Because a lot of people can shoot, not everybody can get their shot. Skills are developed in practice, right? We know this, right? Work on your game. Y'all see it on my hat. You got to work on your game in order to, get yourself out there and at least to have the skill, get an opportunity, right? That's why you work on your game. I tell people, working on your game is not the last step, it's the first step. You work on your game, get an opportunity, then you perform, then you produce results, then you get the reward. That's the 5-step process. Work on your game is step 1. It's not the last step, it's the first step. So yes, you do need to work on your game and practice and get better. Here's the thing though, after you get better, here's what you got to understand. Real life alters the lab test. That's the saying. So a lab test is like whenever you watch like those commercials with cars and they talk about how safe the car is, and they say, when we did independent studies, we know that if this car gets into an accident, the people stay safe. They used to have, way back in the day, some of y'all probably don't even remember, they used to have these like the crash dummies. They still have crash dummies. There used to be a commercial about the crash dummies. And the commercial would be about drugs and stuff like that, like not doing drugs, during the war on drugs back in the 80s and the 90s. Those of you old enough to remember. And the crash dummies, the whole thing was showing you how a car would crash, but then it would have these dummies inside of the car, seat in the driver's seat and the passenger seat, and it would show you how these humans would not die or get destroyed just because the car got crashed up. But real life alters the lab test. See, in real life, you don't run your car into a straight brick wall in a controlled environment in some science lab. In real life, you get broadsided, you get hit from the side from another car. In real life, you slam into a telephone pole. In real life, you wrap the car around a tree. In real life, you might get rear-ended. In real life, there's a whole lot of different things that can happen besides just riding your car straight into a wall like they were doing in demonstrations. Real life alters the lab test, meaning if you're a great shooter in practice, that doesn't mean you're going to be a great shooter in the game. Now, shooting well in the practice will probably get you in the game. Doesn't mean you're going to make those shots when you get in the game. And you might do great moves when you're by yourself, but then when you got a defender in front of you, it's not so easy to do those moves. Or you might think you're a great speaker when you're talking to the mirror at home, or you're giving a speech to your dogs because they're willing to listen to it. I mean, your actual pets, your dogs listen to it. But when you get out there in front of an audience of 1,000 people and there's actual humans listening to you, now it feels a little bit different. All right, the game changes a little bit. Oh yeah, Crystal, definitely have your son listen to this. And get your son a copy of this book. I'm going to tell you how to get this before I'm done, Crystal, so stay tuned. So real life alternate lab test means life looks one way when you're practicing, one way when you're talking about it, one way when you're preparing. It's a completely different thing when you got to get out there and actually do it. And any of you who's ever played a sport, you know what I'm talking about. It feels one way when you're in practice with your friends and your coach and everything's comfortable and normal. You get out there and there's 1,000 people watching you. It changes things. All right, the game changes. Real life alters the lab test. You might think, for example, if you're in sales, you practice your sales script. All right, this is what you want to say. If they say this, you say this. You open with this, then you say that. This is how you transition to making the offer. This is how you ask for the sale. And it all sounds good. You got it all down cold. Then when you get a person on the phone, all of a sudden you forget everything in the script. You forget the whole script as soon as you get a person in front of you. You forget what to say as soon as somebody offers you an objection in real life because the lab test ain't the same. All right, lab test is a controlled environment. Real life does not conform to what you practiced. Just because you practice it this way does not mean real life is going to work out that way. Sometimes in real life, you're gonna have to adjust to something on the fly that you didn't see in practice. Or your coach didn't get you ready for that. Or your coach didn't tell you the guy you playing against is gonna have a 40-inch vertical. He's gonna dunk on you the first play, and now you don't know what to do because everybody in the crowd's laughing at you. You didn't practice that. You didn't get ready for that. So sometimes in life, when the lab test is different from what you practice, you got to be able to adjust on the fly. And you might be asking, well, Dre, how do I adjust on the fly? I never did that before. I don't know what that feels like. Well, number one, you got to go through the experience. You got to get experiential knowledge, or what I call activity knowledge. You get that by actually doing stuff, which means if you do something and you come up against something you're not prepared for, guess what? Sometimes you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to try to make a sale and you got the whole script memorized. As soon as the customer offers you an objection, you forget everything you memorized and you lose that sale. You don't make the sale. Yes, activity knowledge, Crystal, you got it. And you got to go through that. Sometimes you got to go through the failure. Sometimes you got to come up short. Sometimes you might go read a book about picking up girls, or watch a YouTube video about picking up girls, and you go to the mall and you try to use one of those lines and the girl don't respond the way that they responded in the video, and you're like, oh, I don't know what to say next. And now the girl's walking away and you feeling like an idiot because real life altered the lab test. Sorry, sometimes it just works like that. And you got to go through those experiences of failing or coming up short in order to know what to do the next time. And they say, wisdom comes from experience, and experience comes from making mistakes. You do not gain experience by succeeding. All right, experience does not come from successes. All right, the reason why people go and write books and give speeches and tell their stories is not because everything they did worked out. Because if somebody has a whole life where everything worked out, nobody wants to hear from that person because everybody else has had mistakes. Everybody else has had times things didn't work out. So who wants to hear from a guy who succeeded everything he ever did? Nobody. Because they're like, all right, I can't relate to this dude because everything he did worked. Everything I'm doing ain't working. I'm sitting in the audience. My stuff ain't working right now. I want to hear from somebody who's been where I'm at. And if everything you did always worked, what am I going to get from you? So real life alternative lab tests, all right, understanding that's going to happen sometimes, but don't dread it. Don't think it's a negative thing. Take that as an experience, chalk that up as a lesson, and over time you will get better. An expert, I've heard people, there's different ways to describe an expert, but I heard an expert described as a person who has made every mistake. They know what all the mistakes look like. Not a person who's had every success, but a person who has made all the mistakes and they got some success, because otherwise they will have no credibility. We don't want to hear from them. Point number 3. Topic here today is shooting versus getting your shot. Getting your shot requires, what's going on in Australia, it requires that you go off script sometimes. Sometimes the script that you practice is not the script you're going to be able to execute. Sometimes you got to do something a little bit different than what you practice simply because, as I said, when you get out in real life, it's not going to look like what it was when you practiced it. And if you're not willing to go off script, you hope everything goes by what you practice, it's probably not going to go that way and you're going to fail. So when I was playing ball, I would always put out these drills. Some of y'all might remember this. I don't know how long any of y'all been following me, but I used to put out these drills where I'd be in the gym by myself, just doing moves and practicing. And players would say to me, Dre, well, when would you use that move in a game? Like, what game situation would you do that particular move? And I would explain to players. I started explaining to players, look, it's not about me planning this for a particular point in the game because the game moves too fast for me to think about, all right, the defender's right here and they're this tall and the score is this and is this person's over here, they're over there. Now I should do this move. You don't have time to do all that thinking. In a game, you want to position yourself, well, first of all, you want to position yourself in practice to practice your work so much that when you get in a game, you can react instinctively. So when you watch basketball and you see LeBron do a move or Kyrie Irving or Derrick Rose or Steph Curry or whoever, James Harden do a move, it's not because they're thinking, all right, if the defender's right here and they're this tall and I'm this far away and I'm behind the three-point line, I should do move number 25. It doesn't work like that. You practice so that when it's time for you to react, you can just react without thinking. That's why you practice the moves over and over and over again so you can just pull them out without thinking. So when you watch a James Harden or a Kyrie or a LeBron, they don't do moves because they plan to move. They're like, all right, now it's time for move 23. Next time I'm going to do move number 10. Next time I'm going to do move number 16. No. They practice all those moves so much that when they get in the game, they just do it without thinking about it. So it looks natural. It is natural because they've done so much of the work. So when you have the discipline to show up and do the work every single day, like I talk about on the Work on Your Game Masterclass every day, Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, it's on all platforms. Y'all can get it every day. Again, it's called Work on Your Game. Discipline, show up every day to do the work. It comes out of you naturally. So when I do these live streams or you hear me talk right now, I got a couple points that I want to make. I make the point and then I just start talking. It comes to me naturally. Why? Because I've done it so many times. Not because I'm super talented. I mean, I am talented, but it's because I've done it so many times. I put the work in so much that it can come to me naturally. You can just give me a point and I can just talk about it for 10 minutes without any notes, simply because I have done the work leading up to this point. And when you do the work, you'll be able to do the exact same thing. You'll be able to improvise. So any of you know anything about acting, or you go to you ever go to a comedy club or an improv, those actors, that's what they do. They get so good at just thinking on their feet and coming up with something, they just come up with it. They just come up with the comedy on the spot, or they come up with the acting lines right there on the spot because they have put the work in, they have put the time in. So you got to be willing to go off script. There are many highly skilled people who stumble in life because the skills that they practice are not the skills that they see when they get out in real life. They read the book, they follow the manual, everything is exactly as it was said. Then they get out in life and they're like, damn, this is not the way it looked. Or you go to school. I don't know how many of you are college students, or you got a college degree, or you're about to get one. You get your college degree and college taught you all the way that things are going to go. Then you get out in real life and nothing in real life looks anything like what they told you was going to be like in those lecture halls in college. And then you're like, damn, what am I supposed to do? I spent 4 years getting this degree and nothing that they taught me in those classes is anything like what I'm seeing right now. You got to be willing to go off script. So do not, this is the point, this is all I want you to take away from point number 3. Just because you studied it and you understand it and you know it, doesn't mean it's worthless. but it also means do not expect life to replicate what you learned in a book. All right, because if life was what was in a book, then it wouldn't be in a book. It would just be life. It would just be normal. Sometimes in life, you got to take what you know, combine it with the situation, and then you have to make your decision on the spot. This is the instinctive flowing thinking. And sometimes when we get so caught up in our knowledge and information, and if you become a pig, like I talk about in my book here, you become a professional information gatherer. You get so good at gathering information that you forget that just because you had the information doesn't mean life is on the same page as you. Life might be on a completely different, might be in a completely different book than the book that you're in. So just because you got all the information out of this book doesn't mean life is going to reflect what's in this book. It might be a completely different book. And if you're expecting everything to reflect this book, but nothing in life is like that, what you going to do? Well, you're going to do nothing. You're going to be stuck because you don't know what to do. You don't have any actions to take. You don't have any answers. So make sure you don't get yourself stuck in this position just trying to follow what you learned in the book. Be ready to throw your plans in the trash can if you need to and improvise right there on the spot. This is why I'll give you one last example here. Napoleon Bonaparte, who was the French general, one of the greatest generals of all time, maybe the greatest general of all time. He created this whole concept of the mission statement. Everybody heard of a mission statement now, right? Napoleon started that way back in the 1800s. And what he would do, he would tell all his lieutenants, he would say, look, this is what you need to accomplish. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. He would just tell them what they needed to do. And then he told them, look, whatever you need to do in order to achieve this outcome, you do it. I don't care how you do it. You don't need to ask me for permission. You don't need to check with me before you do it. Do whatever you need to do. As long as you achieve this, you achieve that, you do this, and you do this, you good with me. I don't care how you do it. The mission is this. So whatever tactics you want to use, whatever strategy you want to use, whatever changes you need to make along the way in order to get to that outcome, you do it. Just make sure you achieve the outcome at the end. Because if you don't achieve the outcome, then you got to answer to me after the fact. But if you get it done, you good with me. All right, do whatever you got to do. And Napoleon, in doing so, he empowered all of his lieutenants to do things their way. And therefore, he got more of their knowledge out of them so they didn't have to be robots. Because if you're waiting for your boss or whoever's in charge to tell you everything you got to do, now all you're doing is following their plan. You don't even get to use any of your own intelligence. Napoleon empowered his lieutenants and his generals to use their own intelligence to achieve the outcome that he prescribed. And then they got things done a lot faster. They got things done more creatively, and they were able to move a lot quicker. They were able to make decisions fast. And that's why Napoleon's army was so successful, because they didn't have to wait on Napoleon to tell them everything to do. He didn't have to be the end-all be-all like the Wizard of Oz. He just told them what to do, and they just got it done however they wanted to do it. All that being said, I told you I'm going to tell you how to get this book for free. Let me do that now. Then I'm going to recap my points, and I'm going to take questions out the comment section. If you got a question, get it ready. You can post. If it's on IG, post it now. If it's not, then wait, because they disappear in other places. So this book is called The Mirror of Motivation, the Self-Guide to Self-Discipline. You can get this book for free by going to mirrorofmotivation.com. Mirrorofmotivation.com. Let me tell you why you want this book, The Self-Guide to Self-Discipline. You want this because everybody listening to me, or you or somebody you know, has goals. You want to listen to me if you don't have a goal. And you understand, you're not an idiot. You know that you got to do some work to achieve your goals. You can't get something for nothing. Everybody understands those two things. So most people spend their whole lives working really hard, trying to achieve their goals. That sounds like a really smart plan, and it is, but that's not the whole plan. Here's the part of the plan that you're missing. Yes, you got it right, Crystal. Go there, get yourself a copy. The part that people are missing is asking themselves, who do I need to be? What type of person do I need to become while I'm taking these actions so I can get these outcomes? In other words, who do I want to see when I look in the mirror? How do I want people to feel when they talk to me? What kind of energy do I want the room to have when I walk into the room? How do I want to change the whole energy, the whole landscape of a situation when I come into the environment? This book, The Mirror of Motivation, is not going to tell you who you need to be, because that wouldn't make any sense for me to tell you who to be. This book is going to give you the frameworks for you to answer the question, who you need to be. That's why it's called The Mirror of Motivation. This is for you to look in the mirror and tell yourself who you need to be, because I'm not always going to be around to tell you what to do. No, YouTube's not always going to be around, but you will always be around. Anywhere you go in life, you will be there. That's why you need to answer the question, who you need to be. Yes, the Be Do Have Mentality, Mark J. 200. Do you have a copy of this book, Mark? Make sure you get a copy at mirrorofmotivation.com. Go to mirrorofmotivation.com. The book is already paid for. All you do is cover a small shipping charge. We ship the book to you worldwide. I'm talking the physical book. This book right here. You hear that? I will ship this physical book to you anywhere in the world that you live. Look, we got a couple right here. Look. I got a couple right here that need to get shipped out. It's gonna look like an envelope just like this. We're gonna ship these books out to you worldwide, anywhere that you live. Go to mirrorofmotivation.com. The book is paid for. All you do is cover the shipping. All that being said, let me recap my points real quick. If you got a question, go ahead and post it in the comments section. I'm gonna get to it in one moment. Topic is you can shoot, but how do you get your shot? Number one, acquiring skill is the easy part because a lot of people have skill. What you get paid for is the tangible application of your skill and the results that you produce. Number two, skill developed in practice. Of course, you need to work on your game, but real life alters the lab test. All right, understand that when you get in real life, things are not going to look how they looked in practice all the time. Which means, number three, you got to be willing and able to go off script. Okay, you got to be willing and able to do things other than what you practiced, simply because real life does not care what you practice. All right, real life is real life. Practice is practice. The reason you practice is to have skill. It is not because life is going to look exactly like your practice did, because if it did, then a whole lot of things in life will be completely different. You got to be willing to adjust on the fly and make executive decisions on the run. All that being said, I'm going to address questions now. If you got one, go ahead and post it. Mark said, oh, you got to work on your game off of Amazon. Shout out to everybody who got to work on your game off of Amazon. Mark, I could have got you a better deal. If you would have went to work on your game or mirrorofmotivation.com, you could have got the 4-book Bulletproof Bundle. You could have got this, 3 more books called the Bulletproof Bundle. And on the next page, I would have offered you this and another book called the Mental Workbook. We saw that book for $150. We could have got you that and this at a much better price, like a third of that price, all at mirrorofmotivation.com. So Mark, you already got this one. Look, get another copy. Get it to somebody as a gift. There's 5 other books you can get if you go to mirrorofmotivation.com. So all that being said, let's see. And who else was that? Shout out to Crystal for worship. You said you got to get one for your son. How old is your son, Crystal? Is he an athlete? What's he doing? What do you got going on? We got Miguel shouting out from over on Facebook. You checking in from Rizal. Where is that at? Miguel, where you located at? If you're still watching, tell me where that is. It says Antipolo, Rizal. I don't know where that is. Is that Brazil? It doesn't say Brazil. It says Rizal, so I don't know where that is. Say he's a baller. He's 15. Oh, perfect. Yeah, he should get this book right now. This is the book that I wish I had when I was 15. Let me see. Just checking in from Brooklyn. Shout out to Brooklyn. We got Italy in the house. Shout out Italy. Shout out Rome. Where else is in Italy? What city in Italy you from, Clint? I'm trying to remember other places in Italy. Shout out to Florence. Shout out to Florence, Italy. Ronald Portilla says about execution. That's right. Money May said, you're familiar with meditation? Priming. Am I familiar with priming? Sure. From my experience, has it been effective? Were you offended when Robbins said the N-word in speech? Well, first of all, when it comes to priming, I think Tony Robbins is the first person I hear talk about. I think you're talking about Robbins. I didn't hear Tony Robbins say, he said N-word. I didn't hear it. I don't know nothing about that. So I can't be offended. And if I did hear it, it depends on how he was saying it. I think you might be talking about something older, like an older time, but you talking about a long time ago. Money Mayor, is this something that recently happened? Fill me in. Said, would you be able to provide the link to the article on the speaker who said you didn't answer questions? I wrote it was in my email, Money Mayor. I sent the email about that. If you're not on my email list, sounds like you're not, then that means you need to go to workonmygame.com and get on my email list, Money Mayor. You missing out. The train is leaving the station. That's workonmygame.com. Get on the email list. It's free. Joe Garrett Parker was good. Not quite like Maliko was good. Miles says, do you ever deal with imposter syndrome when shooting your shot in business? No, not anymore. Maybe when I first started, I ever felt like an imposter. I never felt like an imposter, Miles, because I had put in all this time doing stuff like this, these live streams and making videos. I already had a proven track record. Before I got into the business world, I had already written. By the time I started doing business stuff and stopped playing ball, I had already published 6,000 videos. I had already written 4 books. I had already been speaking to audiences through video. I've been speaking to audiences through video for 5 years at least. I had already done a lot of stuff. So I had already, hit the ground running by that point. So I didn't have that issue of imposter syndrome. But for people who are feeling imposter syndrome, I got master classes for that. So you remember when Apple first came out with the iPhone, they had a commercial that said there's an app for that? Well, there's a master class for that. All right, so any challenge any of you ever have, there's a master class for that. So any of you trying to sell yourself, let me see, Miles, let me tell you which master class I would send you to right now. Selling Yourself is masterclass number 9. Number 9, Dre All Day /9. When I first talked about selling yourself. And man, I got so many of them. Masterclass 1575, doing the thing versus selling the thing. So just go to Dre All Day / that number and put a little dash after it. 947, are you selling yourself short? That's another one a lot of people could use. That's Dre All Day / 947, selling yourself short. Joe said scripted pickup at the mall. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People be reading those pickup artist books. They don't work. In Schlee, checking in from Australia. I got to get down to Australia. I got a lot of fans in Australia. And Schlee says, be ready so you don't have to get ready. That's true. Naptown said, you and Tim Grover, my favorite people. Tagged you on a post too. All right, I'll make sure I get back to your comment, Naptown. Appreciate that. Shout out to Tim Grover. The difference between me and Tim is, though, Tim wrote his book about what somebody else did. I wrote my book about what I did. His book is about Michael Jordan and Kobe. My book about me. That's the only difference between us. But shout out to Tim. Is a space that is room for everybody. All right, everybody eats. Everybody can eat. Saleh said skill versus talent. Naptown said the overseas basketball blueprint, go cop. Yes, definitely get that. If you're trying to play basketball professionally, you better have the overseas basketball blueprint. There's no other book that tells you what to do. Talking about the old speech. I think I saw that a long time ago, Money May. He had said something. But he was like, I sound like he was like paraphrasing what somebody else said. And he was just repeating it as part of what he was saying. I don't think he was saying it like in a negative way. So I don't take offense to that kind of stuff. I mean, I think y'all probably know that about me. But these hustlers out here, these race hustlers, they'll take advantage of anything. They will turn anything into controversy to just get the sheep fired up. But I didn't talk about that on the masterclass before. All right. They'll do anything to get the sheep fired up, anything that has to do with race. Trust me. And as a matter of fact, a lot of them mad that Biden won the election, or at least they saying he won. A lot of them mad that Biden won because now they can't use Trump to get the sheep fired up for the next 4 years. Now they got to come up with a brand new hustle. So a lot of your favorite race hustlers is mad right now because they got to find a job. Inshui said, how do you trust yourself to leave your past life and start afresh? There's a master class for that. I would suggest you go look up Work on Your Game on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or SoundCloud, Inshui, and start listening to me every single day. Every day when you wake up, just look up that show. It's going to be a brand new episode every day. I guarantee it'll help you get your game in the right place. So you're talking about leaving your past behind and starting afresh. Man, I got so many master classes on that. How to start anew, how to start all over, how to do something different. Listen, we got so many of those. I'm not even going to try to tell you all of them because we got too many. But go to workonyourgamepodcast.com and that'll have the links to all the shows. I appreciate you, Crystal. Make sure you get a copy of that book so we can get you in this next shipment that we sending out. Naptown said random, but you got to have that phone app for translation to get there. Oh, you remember when I told that story, trying to get condoms in Lithuania. But that was in 2005, Naptown. We didn't have smartphones back then. You ain't had no choice. There was no smartphone, so you couldn't do it that way. And Shlee said, listen to it on Spotify. Oh, that's what's up. I think Spotify loads like 400, 500 episodes almost, something like that. It doesn't have all of them, but I'll tell you where to get the rest of them. Just listen to the show. We'll start telling you where to get everything. But we got so many master classes on everything. Any topic you could possibly have, we got a master class on. How to start living right now, 843. That could probably help you instantly. We got too much. We got so many. I can't even go through all of these right now. So anyway, everybody, mirrorofmotivation.com. The book is paid for. All you do is cover the shipping. That's that. Right now, we are about to add. I've been talking about this in my story. We're about to add another element to the Work on Your Game University. If y'all didn't know, once you get the book, Mirror of Motivation, the next step is Work on Your Game University. That is the system where you're going to learn the discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative, how they actually apply when it comes to mindset, strategy, accountability, and taking action for your life and whatever process you happen to be involved in. We're about to add something else in there that's going to be for all levels. The entire membership, we've been recording that for the last 2-3 days. I think I'm going to finish the recording tomorrow. Then we'll probably start putting that stuff out by the end of the week. It's going to be inside of the membership area. So instantly, that's dreallday.com/843. And then put a dash, 843 dash. That'll take you to the episode. Or just 843. After 1,000, you got to put the dash. So that's coming to Work on Your Game University. That's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. But I get everybody started with the book. So you start with this. After you read this, then the next step is go to Work on Your Game University. So we'll make sure we got all that set up in the funnels and the emails and all that. Question is, how do I improve listening skills throughout b-ball training? Go find a good trainer that you want to listen to. Find somebody that you actually want to listen to them talk. Everybody, we wrapping it up. I've been recording all day. I need to save my voice. I'm like a singer right now. I need to save my voice. So everybody, wrapping this up. Mirrorofmotivation.com. Book is paid for. You cover the shipping. I will do another live tomorrow. I don't know the topic. Just stay tuned. Be ready for it. We out of here. Dre all day.